Alrighty. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for lunch. We're going to be talking about Smartsheet today. Specifically, we're going to be talking about one of their newer features called WorkApps. WorkApps are allowed and or available via their enterprise plan. And so today you're going to be working with Echo Consulting. My name is Molly Yanis. I'm the founder of Echo Consulting. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to give you just a little bit of background. If you've been with a workshop with me before, you know I don't love slides. We're going to get into Smartsheet in just a minute. Before we get started, I just want to make sure everyone is kind of under the same impression, using the same terminology. So Smartsheet is a low-code, no-code platform, right? What they've done with WorkApps is they've actually provided a new way to build a personalized navigation based on roles. So the way they describe it is a low-code, no-code platform to build intuitive web and mobile apps. So basically, they want to make it as user-friendly as possible by creating a web interface and being able to use a mobile app. So especially, these are great use cases. Some of our clients have, quality checklists or things like that that they have to do on a manufacturing floor. They want to be able to do it from a mobile device. And sometimes the Smartsheet native navigation is very folder heavy. So if you're familiar with like a document management system or something like that, it's a very hierarchical folder structure. And that's how they do permissioning. But WorkApps actually allows you to create your own navigation that is more user-friendly and more streamlined. And it also actually allows you to create your own permissioning structure based on the WorkApp instead of under the underlying artifacts. So the assumption of this workshop today is going to be that you understand at a high level what Smartsheet is, that there are reports, that there are sheets, that there are dashboards and different components and forms, right? The WorkApp is actually just a framework to bring all those pieces together and package it up in a way that your end user can easily access the most important things that are housed within Smartsheet. So some people have done workarounds in the past. I've seen people, some of our clients even have kind of used different Smartsheet components, created kind of an iframe view of it and embed it in like SharePoint or something like that. This is Smartsheet's attempt to keep you on their Smartsheet platform. And I found it to be really useful for a lot of different clients. So I'm excited about this workshop today. All right, so this is again right from their website. If you want marketing material, by all means, check it out. But just really high level, streamline business processes, protect solution integrity. So they can, again, permissioning by the app based on roles. The creation of the app, you don't need to have a lot of background. We're going to create a couple of apps together today. You're tailoring experiences to individual users. You might have heard of this as like personalization is another way to say this, but it's not necessarily just an individual, but it's rather the role they play. So Echo Consulting is primarily a project management solutions company. So we really focus on project management best practices and rolling out project management offices within Smartsheet. So if you think about that, you might have a role which is a senior leader in your organization or a C-level or executive. You might have someone that is the program or portfolio manager, someone that's managing a department, for example, a team. You might have an individual project manager or product manager, and then you might also have a member of the team that's executing on task. And what each of those people need is a little bit different, right? So we're going to create a WorkApp. We're going to think about those different roles and what solutions, what pieces that each person has to see and in what order they want to see them in. So your ability to leverage Smartsheet, what's great about WorkApps is you're actually able to also include links to websites and other components as well outside of the Smartsheet ecosystem. You can access it from anywhere, mobile, desktop, etc. You can do branding. So anything with enterprise, you can do your own colors and your own logo and things like that. And again, Smartsheet passes all the security. They're the only work management platform that is approved by the US federal government. So they've gone through rigorous security training and certification. So a couple of different things just to mention. So really, you need to have enterprise licensing in order to build WorkApps. And so it's not available at a basic or business pro level. And the people that can create apps are licensed. Unlicensed users can view things and everything, but they're not able to create apps, right? All right, so with that said, I'm going to dive right into Smartsheet, and let's see here. Of course, I don't have it up. All right, so let's get rid of all this good stuff and let's go into here. So when I'm going to my home at Smartsheet, right, I am going to navigate to my app launcher down here. It's called a launcher, so it's in the bottom left-hand corner if you want to follow along. And here you'll see that I have a variety of different add-ons that we have available to us. But for today, we're going to be looking at WorkApps. Okay. So in the WorkApps homepage, the first thing you can do is you can see that I have apps that are shared with me, as in someone else created them, but they shared so that I have access to edit them. And then I have apps that are owned by me, so apps that I have created, right? And you'll see that all of the apps that I've created in this example are in draft form, so they are, except for this one, which is live, right? Which means that someone can go ahead and use it. But for today, I'm going to start off with the create an app functionality in the top right. And you'll notice that they've actually created a couple of templates that you can start from. And if you've attended any of my previous webinars, you'll know that I don't like to start from scratch when we're first learning a new functionality. I want to start from something. So today we're going to go ahead and actually start from a ticketing system app. And basically they've created a solution set or a template set that goes along behind an app, right? So I'm going to, again, I went back just really quick. I'm going to create the app. I'm creating an app here. For today, we're going to create an app from scratch, but first we're going to start from doing it from one of their, one of their out of the box ones. So I'm going to choose to create a ticketing system because I think everyone's kind of familiar with that functionality. I'm going to create a ticketing system app. And then here, what they're telling me is that they're going to create the individual Smartsheet items or artifacts. So they're going to create the sheets, they're going to create the reports, they're going to create the dashboard, just like in a solution set. When I say solution set, does everyone know what I'm talking about? Let me just go back really quick and go to the home. And if you think about solutions, right, Smartsheet has this solution center. And they have all of these different template sets that they create. So you might have seen this previously. So you can go ahead and look at a template set and learn more. And they're going to automatically create this sheet and report and other components, right? What these WorkApps are is the same concept, right? When I'm going ahead and creating a ticketing system, it is creating the solution behind the scene. I like to start from an existing solution with people that are learning new functionality. And then once they become more comfortable, then create from scratch and use artifacts that they already have. And when I'm saying artifacts, I'm talking about sheets, reports, dashboards, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and use the template. When I use the template, what this is doing is this is creating a folder in my Sheets environment, and it is going to include sheets and request forms and ticketing dashboard and all of this good stuff, right? And I'm immediately being dropped into the WorkApps user interface for actually editing an app, right? So over here, I can see that they included template instructions. So this is the same concept that you have in a solution set. So they have actually built out instructions for step-by-step for how you could configure this ticketing app to work for your organization. So they've told you this template set includes a ticketing dashboard, an intake sheet, reports, and much more, right? Metric sheets and things like that. So here's the ticketing system dashboard. Here's how you edit the different components in the ticketing system dashboard. This is where you edit things here. We're not going to be going into the individual artifacts today and really editing dashboards. You're welcome to check out one of my other webinars on this, or I'm happy to direct you to some YouTube videos that we have on this. But just be aware that when you do this solution or this WorkApp, it actually tells you kind of how to configure this. All right. So now that we've kind of looked through what Smartsheet has given us, now let's look at an individual page here. Okay. So here, what I'm looking for is I can see the different pages that are available in this WorkApp, right? So, oh, sorry guys, people keep on coming in. So what this is telling me is that I have a request intake sheet, and over here, I can see where the source is, right? So if I wanted to, let's say I wanted to add a column here, or I want to change the priority because I don't like priority 1 through 5 and I want it to say something else. Over here, it's telling me what the source of this sheet is, and I can actually go to the source sheet, which is going to open up in a new tab, right? So if I want to see what the request intake sheet is, I can do that right here, okay? And so here I can see, okay, here are all the columns that are available to me here. One of the things I like to do is sometimes if I like lose track of something, I come here, this is just a tip or trick. So go to File and I go down to Properties, and I can see that they have put this request intake sheet into my Sheets environment. And again, your Sheets is your personal working environment. And they have put it in a folder that's called WorkApps Template Ticketing System. Okay. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to go to my underlying because I want to see actually where this is located, right? So here it is. They've created a couple of different reports, then they've created a dashboard for information, right? So back to my WorkApp tracker. This is how I see what the source information is. Then I can go ahead and select what view I want to show up on my desktop versus a mobile, right? So in mobile, you might want to click on the mobile view, which is a collapsed view, or you can choose to put it into a grid view here. Okay. And then you can choose, it doesn't look like they have any default filters, so we'll do that for the next one. Okay. So what I've done is I've chosen my page settings for this specific page, right? So here, there's the metric sheet as well, and then there's also some report information. So let's look at a report and see what options are here. In the report, you notice that the only information you have is the actual report source information. It's not letting me choose the different views like I was able to do here for the report. If you know, Smartsheet recently changed it so that you can look at some different views within a report. But again, what Control Center has is whatever report you have, that is what you're doing this. So here are the different reports. Then you have your ticketing dashboard. This is just going to be kind of an iframe of the dashboard that you have. Again, this is view only right now of the dashboard. Okay. And then it does have the new request form. So this is important because some people don't realize this. So for this form, you actually have to be able to get the link to the form to add this. So if I wanted to go ahead and add a page, right, I have to actually get the form link from the page. So I want to just show everyone so that if they wanted to do that, how they could do that. So in here, I'm going to go to my request intake sheet. I'm going to go up to the left here and click Forms and Manage Forms. And I'm going to be able to grab the link. This is typically where I grab the link from. I'm going to copy the form here, copy to clipboard. If I wanted to add a new form here, I would have to click on Form. I would give this form a name. So new request example form, right? And then I would paste the URL here. Okay. So all other Smartsheet items, if I wanted to go ahead and add a page, I'm going to have my regular navigation here where I can pull something from the regular navigation or search. So this is going to be something that you're used to seeing if you've been in Smartsheet. But for the forms, just like in dashboards, you have to actually get the real link. The other piece that you don't have, because Smartsheet, of course, wants to keep you in their platform in Smartsheet, is you do have the ability to add pages that are web content. Right? So you do have the ability to embed a link from Google, Smartsheet, or something like that. It's important that you understand that Smartsheet does have some limitations from a security standpoint where it needs to be from a link that is associated with a specific approved URL. So Smartsheet has some ones that are kind of like automatically approved and they're listed over here. So you can see, for example, Google, Google Docs, Maps, Microsoft, Bing, some of these other things that they have. You and I'm not going to get too far into the governance and admin center here, but you do have the ability to whitelist, for example, if Echo Consulting or Echo Project Management website, we can whitelist that specific URL in our security settings so that we can go ahead and add a general URL. Okay. All right, so I'm going to pause for a second here. Does anyone have any questions about the pages and how they're added over to the left? Okay, we'll definitely have time at the end as well if you come up with pages after this fact, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add my pages and I'm going to configure my pages where I'm able to do that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and preview, and I'm going to look at it for what it looks like on the desktop and the mobile view here, right? So on the desktop view, this is the way it looks currently. And over here in the left is important to notice. So right now I'm acting as a program team member. So I have a specific set and a specific navigation associated with being a program team member. If I switch to be an executive, notice how the options that I have on my list decreased, right? So I'm going to do this again. So if I'm on the program team, see how I have all these different options. And the first thing that shows up is ticketing management. If I go to an executive view, same thing shows up here, but I have a lesser number of pieces. So I'm going to show you how to do that with roles in just a moment. But before I do that, I want to show you what it looks like on a mobile device. Interesting. So I'm going to have to do that from my actual mobile device then. Sorry, guys. So anyways, you do have the ability to look at it from both places. You can access the link from here. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to talk about is I'm going to exit the preview mode and I'm going to talk about roles. Okay, so here you can see how you have this is your WorkApps home. This is the pages where you're identifying like adding additional pages and adding kind of any configuration page oriented. This is the roles piece, and you can do this a couple different ways. You can click on this icon over to the left. You can also click on the roles over here. So they have configured different roles over here, and you can add a new role, and we'll show that in just a moment. So first, let's see what they've done with this program team member. So they have created a role, and they have put this person as a role because I'm the owner, right? And what they have done here is they've allowed you to permission things outside of the general permissioning in Smartsheet. Right, so in Smartsheet, you can add people as viewers and commenters and editors and everything like that at a workspace level or an individual sheet or dashboard level, right? This actually overrides that permissioning for WorkApps. So it's actually a completely different permissioning structure. And that's important to understand because you cannot give access to a workspace or to a dashboard to an executive in the traditional permissioning and give it to them in a WorkApp, and they do have access. So I just want to confirm like what I'm saying here, right? So I'm in the request intake sheet. I can share this. This is the typical permissioning for Smartsheet. This is sheet sharing. I can add an individual and I can make them an admin, an editor, a commenter, a viewer, right? I also have the ability to go to a workspace and share. Oh, this isn't a workspace. Sorry. And I can go ahead and share a workspace. So everything in the workspace, and I can add that to an individual. And again, same permissioning. This is different. WorkApps overrides / has different permissioning than the underlying data structure, like the folder structure that is a typical navigation and permissioning structure in Smartsheet. Okay, so here what it's telling me is I can actually put someone in this role and I can choose whether that person is a viewer or hidden or editor, right? You cannot edit a dashboard in here. Like you have to edit a dashboard underlying, but you can edit, for example, like edit a sheet, right? All right, so these are the different options here. And then the other piece you can do is you can drag and drop these to be different order based on the different role, right? So right now I'm doing the role of a program team. So if I want the request intake to be the home, I can make that the home here, right? Whatever is at the top, I believe, becomes home. Let me just double check myself on that one. But I think whatever, yeah, so whatever is on top becomes the home. That's the first thing that shows, right? So you can't make something that's on the bottom of the navigation. You can also hide something, right? So let me go back to roles, and I'm going to go to the executives, and I see that the only person that's an executive right here, but I'm going to go ahead and add Melissa, right? Melissa to this role, and I'm going to go ahead and add her. And then I'm going to go back to page permissioning. And here you can see that I've actually hidden the metrics sheet because we don't want them to look at the underlying numbers there. We've hidden these additional reports like the current technician report, right? They've hidden the request intake. The only thing that they can see is the current submitter as well as the viewer of this information. Any questions on page permissions and how this works with adding roles? We're going to add a new role together now. So I'm going to add a new role. We're going to call this test role, right? And I'm going to go ahead and add this part, add a person to this role, and I'll add Abby. And I'm going to go ahead and go to page permissions. You'll see that everything is hidden to start off. And they're in the traditional order that if you are outside of roles, so if I go back here, you'll see that it's just in the order that's here, right? You can't actually reorder the pages here. They don't call it a defect, but it's basically a defect. You can only reorder the pages and roles, and you can see that it's a defect because they have to tell you here that you have to do it there. So anyways, just giving you a heads up on that one. And so when you go to page permissions, you just drag and drop to whatever you want to be at the top, right? And then I can go ahead and make this a viewer. Okay. All right, that's good. Okay, so let's go ahead and preview again. Let's look at our test role because that's the role we were last working on. And you can see that the only options I have are ticketing dashboard, request intake, and new request example form, because those are the only ones that I accepted. Okay. And if I wanted to, I can check to customers and see that customers have a different view, and you can check that executives have a different view, right? Everyone has a different view based on what they want. So again, I'm just using kind of their out of the box ticketing app. We're not talking too much about the functionality of the ticketing app itself, but rather how we use WorkApps. So I'm going to exit the preview, right? And I'm going to look at some of these other options before I go ahead and publish. So the first thing is that I can do an app theme. So when we talk about app theme, right, we can update a logo, we can update the thumbnail image, we can update the accent color and the bookmark icon, which is up here, right? So some of those things, so it's actually kind of nice. So like if you were to do this, Echo Consulting is a consulting company. And so if we wanted to, we could actually use our individual clients' logos or something like that for different components of this if we wanted to. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this. No worries there. And then the other one is transfer app ownership. So it is important that you, one of the biggest reasons why WorkApps hasn't taken off, I believe, as a functionality, and again, this is personal observation, it's not like official global knowledge or something, is because you can only have a single owner. This is a severe limitation to WorkApps, so I'm just going to call it out as it is, pretty direct, right? You can only have one person own a WorkApp. So sure, you can have different people have roles, but only the owner can update the WorkApp right now. So you can't have 3 people update the same WorkApp. So it basically requires you to use a service account or something like that, or just be aware that you're kind of dead in the water and that only one person can have the ownership, right? So I'm going to keep the ownership for it right now, but here we go. So that is that. So the next thing I think that's going to be doing, I'm sorry, I see mine is fine as well. I'm breaking up. Oh, okay. Sorry. It sounds like maybe it's just a Barb issue. Okay. So anyways, so app theme and transfer app ownership. The other piece here is this is just literally roles. So give app access to people with free accounts by requesting your system admin to unlock the system, unlock the WorkApps collaborator access. So this is a security setting that is based on the admin center. If we have time at the end, I'll give you guys a quick view of Admin Center. But again, most likely you have an IT person or a Smartsheet leader or something in your side. You need to make sure that you are unlocking WorkApps collaborating access. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and publish. So similar to how you publish in Smartsheet, base Smartsheet, right? I can go ahead and choose to notify. They'll actually automatically select that, notify people to have who have access. And I can manage people here and see specifically like who has access in each of these different roles, right? So I'd expect in executives, I think I saw Melissa, for example, here, right? But if I want to publish, I'm not going to notify people and I'm going to go ahead and publish this app. Okay, it's going to take a moment. All righty, so while this is publishing the app, I'm gonna. Okay, so now your app is live and I can send out this link to the WorkApp if I wanted to. I'm gonna view the app on desktop. So again, another important thing to note is that this WorkApp is not going to show up in my navigation here. This is a separate navigation. This is a link that you can provide so that people don't have to go to the underlying here, right? This can be overwhelming because there's a lot of different workspaces. There's a lot of different sheets and components and things like that, right? And this folder structure can be really overwhelming for people. So they created WorkApps to basically get around that and use a more user-friendly, streamlined navigation. Does anyone have questions on that? The navigation is not going to be here. You're not going to see your WorkApps here. WorkApps is going to show up if you have access to it here, and you can view all of your WorkApps here if you wanted to click on the apps here, but it is a separate navigation. Most of our clients that are using WorkApps have this app available either on an intranet site or something like that, or a saved bookmark. And this is the way people like access Smartsheet for end users versus going to the traditional Smartsheet and having to go through their workspaces and doing it that way. So they typically use it for end users or executives that aren't going to log in to Smartsheet and find what they're looking for. Any questions on that? I think you can probably feel a little bit how I feel about that, but it is, again, this has been really useful for specific use cases. Again, people that are on the floor, executives that don't want to go through a folder structure, it can definitely provide a lot of value in streamlining the navigation. Okay, I can see that this is live. I can edit the app. I can view the live app, and I can copy the app and I can delete it and other stuff like that. Okay. Alrighty, I'm going to take a breath and then we're going to create a new app. Does anyone have any question on the ticketing system app? You could have followed along if you wanted to. It still has all the same integrations and things like that that you're used to with Smartsheet. Nothing too crazy there. All right, so with that being said, the first thing we did is we created an app based on one of these templates. I'm actually going to create an app from scratch now based on some deliverables that we have in an Echo demo environment. Okay, so I'm going to create the app from scratch. And when you see that, I have 0 pages here and there is no name for the app. So I'm going to do webinar web app. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and add pages. If you need guidance, they actually have a tour of WorkApps that is probably comparable to what we're doing right now, right? Where we're walking through the different steps of WorkApps. So I'm going to go ahead and add pages. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add Smartsheet content. I'm used to that, right? I'm going to go into the Smartsheet demo environment. I'm going to go into our Burlington build demo environment, and I'm going to add some of the key assets that I want. So I definitely want the program dashboard. I want the project intake sheet. And maybe I want, let's see here, website redesign. Maybe I want to go ahead and have the CRADE log and a project dashboard and a project plan and all this other good stuff, right? Maybe I want to do a budget. All right, we'll do that, all this stuff, right? Okay, so what I'm not going to do right now is I'm not adding any of the individual reports because most of these reports and dashboard assets are on my project plan, but let's actually just add a couple of them. So let's say due in the next 2 weeks and at-risk tasks, for example, and then for CRADE, CRADE, again, is just we've added changes into our risks, action items, issues, and decisions. So we work with a lot of clients to use this CRADE log. So we're going to just basically say the critical and high items here. So I'm going to add all of these different pages to my WorkApp, right? And you can see that they are listed here. I can see the different components of it. So here's my programmatic dashboard that I can see. And I have my project intake sheet. Now, remember, if I want to actually have a form on here, what do I have to do? Right? I wasn't able to add a form. So what do I have to do? I'm going to go to my individual project intake sheet because I know that my form that I'm looking for is on the intake sheet. I'm going to go to my Manage Forms button, and I'm going to go ahead and grab the link for my form so that I can come back here. And I'm going to add a page, and I'm going to add a form, and I'm going to call this intake form, and I'm going to go ahead and paste my URL here so that I have a new page, and it's going to be called intake form down here. So one of the things I want to point out is the intake form is literally the exact same thing as web content. The reason why you use form instead of web content, which literally is the same user interface here, is that it gives you a different icon, right? It gives you the Smartsheet form icon, whereas if you do the website, it's going to go ahead and just do like a regular link. I think it's this icon over here. Okay, so if you're a visual person, make sure that you do the forms here. Otherwise, you can literally just use the same thing here, call it a form, and it'll just be a link. All right, so what did I do? I just added a bunch of components here. I'm going to, just to make it easy on myself, I don't have Google up here. I thought I had Google Drive somewhere. Google Drive, here we go, Echo. Okay. I'm going to pull the menu here, the menu from my child's Cappy. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to add a page. I'm going to add web content. I'm going to call this Google Sheet, right? And I'm just going to add this here, add page. And I can see the document linked right in here. Okay, so that was the link functionality. And as I mentioned, it's going to show up as a link functionality. And if you're really interested in what JES, Jericho Elementary School, is going to have, now you have that information in this beautiful app. Okay. All right, so what else did I want to do here? Okay, so I've added a bunch of content here. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do what? I'm going to add roles. So when you start out with roles, right, it's going to just have an untitled role, and the person that's creating the app is going to be in there. So we're going to add a role, and we're going to add a role of a project manager, right? And we're going to add people to this role. And today we're going to add Charlie to that role. Here you go. And we'll add Caroline to the role. Great. All right, so now I have 2 new people in this role. I'm going to go to page permissions over here. And I'm going to say that they definitely need to see the program dashboard. They're going to be an editor on the intake sheet. They're going to be an editor on the CRADE log sheet. And we'll go ahead and make them a viewer on some of these other dashboards, right? And then for the rest of these, we'll just make them, you know what, it's a project manager, so they can be an editor for everything, right? Now, let me just go ahead and viewer. So intake form, probably not super important. Some project managers are the ones that enter the information in, but typically they do it via an intake sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and put this at the bottom, just make them a viewer. It's probably not super important to them, but honestly, at-risk tasks is very important to them, right? So we really want to have the project dashboard and the program dashboard, and we really want to have their due in the next 2 weeks reports and the project CRADE report, right? So we want to put these reports up there. Intake sheet, probably not as important as their component. Now, one of the things to be aware of here is that, see how this navigation is limited? I do not have the ability, again, this is a tip or trick, right? You know that I'm going to call out things that I don't think are great user experience. you cannot adjust this, this navigation over here. So when things go ... they look ... So it's really hard for me to see that this is a project plan versus something that says website redesign that is the budget. So be aware of your naming convention and making sure that there is something that you can update in order to be able to see what this is. If you hover, you can see it. If you click on it, obviously you can see what the sheet is up here, but be aware of that because that's kind of obnoxious that you can't adjust the navigation over here. Any questions on that? Okay. Similarly, if I had multiple projects, like Caroline has 2 or 3 different client projects, if everything is called stakeholder list, Caroline doesn't know if the stakeholder list is for this client or for another client or for this project or another project. If she has a CRADE log that just says CRADE log and she has 3 projects, she might have 3 different CRADE logs and she's not going to be able to tell the difference between them. Right, until she looked at the actual content and then said, oh yeah, this is this project. But for ease of use, you want to make sure that the name of the sheet is representative of that. So that's why you would want to have an individual project name or program name or something like that to be clear. Okay. All right, so we're going to go back to here because we're having so much fun and we're going to create a executive view and we're going to name it up here. This is where it's named. So we're going to have a we're gonna have a leadership view, right? And we're gonna add people to this role. And for now, we're gonna add Barb and Kelly and Lisa. There we go. We're gonna add them to the leadership view. And I'm gonna go over here to page permissions. And as you can see, everything is hidden and it's in the exact same order as what was in the pages list. It does not reorder it based on what the project manager has. It literally is in the same list. So once again, what do you have to do? Well, for the leadership team, the intake form is really important. So maybe the program dashboard and then the intake form. I need to make them a viewer on this. I need to make them a viewer on this. They may or may not need the program intake sheet. They might want the individual project dashboards, but maybe we only put the at-risk tasks in there. We don't want to put like due in the next 2 weeks or anything like that. It really depends on the culture of your organization, what makes the most sense, right? So in this case, I'm going to make them viewers so they can see that. I'm going to go ahead and preview just to make sure I like the way it looks. And I'm expecting to see from my leadership team that they're only going to be able to see 4 things. And let's see here. And it's in the order that I would expect to see it. Makes sense? And same functionality as a typical dashboard, right? You can scroll up and down and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and let me actually, so see, I can see who's here. These are the people that have access to this. And then I'm going to come over here. I'm going to see the project manager view. I would expect to see Charlie and Caroline. Now I can see this same concept, but I can see additional components that I would expect to see from here. Right? I'm going to go ahead and exit the preview and I'm going to go ahead and let's see here. Let's app theme this up and let's do a different color. So you believe me when I say I'm going to make it green. So 92D050. Okay. So I'm going to apply that. And let's see here. Let's upload. I don't know. Do I not have pictures here? All right. Well, I guess we're going to do that picture for right now. Okay. And see, they can only add a certain, like, this is the space that it would look like, right? So I can come down here, make it a little bit smaller. That's going to be the new logo. Save. Here we go. And I'm going to click done. Okay, so now my logo's up here and I have a green strip across here. All righty. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and publish my app. I'm not going to notify people. And I'm going to go ahead and publish. It's going to take a minute. All right, so while that is happening, I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to look at the apps I own. I'm going to see that I have this webinar web app that's still being published. I have the ticketing system that is already marking it as live. I'm going to go ahead and edit this app. Don't know why it didn't do that. Oh, it is live. It was published a couple seconds ago. So I'm going to view the live app here. And Caroline, do you mind doing me a favor? I'm going to go ahead and copy this for you. And I'm going to put this in chat. And if you don't mind, I just want to show that you can actually access the app and what it looks like for you. Okay. So if you just want to do that while we're going around, and when you're ready to show, we can. All right, so that is the basics of it. I want to go back and just make sure you guys understand again. So to access WorkApps, you do have to come in here. You're going to click on WorkApps. When you come here, you're going to come to Home. It's going to show you the apps that are shared with you. Perfect. Thank you, Caroline. So perfect. So Caroline is seeing hers. She doesn't have the option to see other roles, right? She is only seeing her piece. So that's a branded view of what she's looking at. She can click through and see different things, but she has the updated logo. And Caroline, I don't know if you have any other apps. Can you click on the home button up top just to see if you have anything else? So if she goes to home, she has one app that's shared with her, but she has not created any apps. But after today, she is excited to create her own work app, aren't you, Caroline?
I am.
All right, perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and take back sharing from you. Thank you so much. Let's see here. So again, I just want to do kind of a final, again, just because the navigation is a little bit iffy, and then I want to open it up for questions. If anyone has done this on their own and they have any questions, or they have, you know, they want to kind of go a little bit deeper, I'm happy to do that. So again, if I was to access WorkApps, I would typically come to my launcher and come here. My apps are not going to be in my navigation here, either under Sheets or in my workspaces. That is not where WorkApps live. WorkApps live here. You're basically creating a no-code navigation and permission structure for your apps, right? Okay. With that, I guess Melissa probably wants me to do a couple slides. So let me just show you a couple more slides just to say. So any questions? If you want help, Smartsheet Echo does offer Smartsheet implementations, and we have a couple of different different packages that we do. And some of the stuff that we work on are, let's see here, it includes some dashboards and automations, and it does include WorkApp if you have that. If you're interested, we do have some additional content in our YouTube channel. If you subscribe, we really appreciate that. But if you're looking for more information on YouTube, you can actually see our channel, and you'll see that we have some, we have a whole Smartsheet channel that you can look at for Smartsheet tips and tricks. I clicked a little bit too far, but what you'll see in the Smartsheet tips and tricks area, right, is how to set up a PMO, best practices, add a row. Some of these are kind of like quick components that we have here, right? So if you're interested in learning more about Smartsheet and you've enjoyed this, please subscribe and please check out our content. All right, so I'm going to pause now and see if anyone has any questions or anything they want me to dive in any deeper. If not, I am more than happy to give you 14 minutes back to your day. I could certainly use them, but I always like to leave time at the end for questions. If someone's actually tried to go ahead and create a work app and kind of what problems they ran into. I am happy bringing up Admin Center if you guys want to. I'm not sure that there's anyone in this team that actually is, you know, using Admin Center. Typically, it's an IT component. All right. Well, my name is Molly Yanis, and I am the founder and CEO of Echo Consulting. We are a Smartsheet aligned partner, and we offer support services for Smartsheet. We also offer project management services, and not to promote others, but we also offer Monday.com and ClickUp and other project management systems. We basically love solving problems with no-code, flexible solutions to help teams become more automated, more streamlined, and less wasted time doing manual things when they could be working on something more exciting. So thank you all for attending. We will go ahead and send out this recording. I don't think we did much with